All right, so again, this is homework 2.3. And then questions 23 and 25. Pretty simple here. We're finding the zeros by factoring. What's the first step to factoring? GCF. So is there anything in common with these? And the way I like to look at that is upside down division. Can I pull anything out? Is there anything? So in this case, it's -1 and 9. You're like, yeah, I can't pull out a -1. I mean, that's just 1, right? I could pull out a -1, right? That would be common. Okay. So if I wanted to, I could pull out a -1. Yeah. And so I don't have to. I could pull out an X, right? So it's up to you if you wanted to pull out the negative or not. The 0 is going to come out the same either which way, so I'll show you both ways. But what is common is the X. And so if I pull out an X, how many X's are left? Just 1, right? Yeah. Pull out an X, how many X's are left? None, right? And so you have these two things, -x plus 9 and X. And then you set those equal to 0 and you solve, right? Just like we did back here. We said, okay, well, -x plus 9 equals 0, and x equals 0. So I know that x already equals 0. That's one solution, right? And then I solve here, and I minus 9. I get -x is equal to -9. So I divide by a negative, or multiply by a negative, whatever we want to do. But you get x is equal to 9. Okay? So x is 9 or 0. Does that make sense? Now we could have pulled out -x squared plus 9x, and we could have pulled out a -1, is what I said, right? And then if I did that, that'd be x squared plus 9, or minus 9x. And then I pull out an x, and I get x minus 9. So I get x minus 9 times -1 times x equals 0, and it would still give me the same thing. X minus 9 equals 0, x equals 0, right? And then I solve, and I get x equals 9 and x equals 0. Either which way I did it, either way. Does that make sense?
How does the addition look to subtraction plus 9x?
On this?
Yeah.
Because if I pull out a negative, what's a negative times a negative is a negative times a positive is a so you're dividing it out, which is the same as multiplication, right? So you have to change the signs. So when I take out a negative, I change these signs, which is a trick we learned last year a little bit, right? For factoring. Well, we really didn't do a lot of factoring in here. We did it in Algebra 1. We'll do a lot of it in here. And it's a trick we're going to learn by pulling out that negative. Okay? This upside down division, you won't find anywhere else except on my YouTubes because I created it. I took it from prime factorization that they teach you back in Algebra 1 and sometimes in 6th grade. And I just extended it throughout calculus because it works really, really well. The way that they have you factor in calculus and for sine, cosine stuff is very confusing to me, and I'm able to teach students to do it with this a lot simpler. Okay? And especially students who lack the knowledge of all the algebra skills. Okay? Next, we're going to do that 5-step method here. And the first step is GCF, right? So what goes into, is there a common factor? There's not an X in every single one, is there? Okay? And it's basically a 1, a 7, and an 8. So nothing goes into 1, 7, and 8, right? So GCF is done. Is there a star? right? Is there a number out here? So no star. So again, this is one of those 3-step methods again. Number 1 is done. Number 2 is no star, right? Which means number 5 is done. So this is that whole, all I got to do is make my parentheses and my variable. So all I have to do is make my parentheses and my variable. That's it. And now I move on to signs. Okay? And the sign, I just bring this first sign down every single time. First sign comes down. Okay? The second sign, this, tells me if these are the same or different. In this case, it's a negative, so they are different. So if it's different than plus, this has to be a negative. Okay? Alright, now I go to step 4. Product and sum. Okay? So the product is 1 times 8, which is 8. And the sum is 7. Okay? The middle number. Okay? Alright, so I need 2 numbers that multiply to be 8, but they are different. They are different by 7. Sorry. They are different by 7. So I'm actually adding a negative number. Okay. So 2 numbers that multiply to be 8, but are different by 7. 1 and what's 1 times what is 8? 8, right? 8 times 1 is 8.
So it's going to be negative 8.
And so what's 8 minus 1? Huh? 8 minus 1? 7, right? So 8 minus 1 is 7. 8 times 1 is 8. So I'm using 8 and 1. And then I just set those equal to 0. Okay? So I set this equal to 0. So I say x plus 8 is equal to 0, and x minus 1 is equal to 0. So I get x is equal to negative 8, and x is equal to 1. And those are my zeros. And this is the easy way to find zeros. This is obviously not the easy way because students have a hard time factoring, right? But believe me, this is easy. Okay?
It's negative. This is confusing.